Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
I couldn't tell you the first thing about my home's heating and plumbing systems, so I caught up with someone who could.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Blaine Steffen from Guardian Heating and Plumbing as he's here to offer some tips and talk about seasonal changes that people might see in their heating and plumbing systems heading into winter. So, first off, Blaine, thanks so much for being here. But for people like me who haven't the slightest idea on how to prepare their home for winter, do you maybe have some basic starter tips for people on how they can do that?
Yeah, for sure, Tate. So I tried to kind of lay it out in three parts. So I try to set it up. So number one, walk around the outside of your house. First thing you want to do is just look to make sure that all your vents are clear, that there's no fuzz in them, spider webs. And if there is, just brush it off, clean them out. We'll give you a few bonus ones here too, not just HVAC, but also plumbing related. When you're walking around, make sure that you take the hose off of your outside tap. That can be a disaster come spring. What happens is if that hose is still on there, the water stays in there and it doesn't get to drain out and it'll actually freeze and it bursts the line and you will not know until next spring when you're out watering your flowers. And while you're watering your flowers, it's also watering your basement. And you won't know because you're outside and all of a sudden you get your kid come running out screaming, "Dad, the basement's flooding." So that's always a disaster, and that happens every year. That's without fail. We will fix that every spring, so don't let it be yours. The other thing too is make sure that it's not leaking. Those taps will start dripping and you'll end up with the coolest, biggest icicle, and also can cause a lot of damage and a lot of problems, and it's costing you money. It's not cheap to drip water onto the ground. So and then there's also another pipe that not everybody will have. But if you've got your sump pump and it's got a hose that takes the water away from your house a ways, or some people have it running down their fence to another location, take that off. If that freezes up, your pump will then turn on and it'll pump against ice and you'll burn out that pump. And same thing, come spring, you think your pump's gonna work, and all of a sudden you get the first big flood, little tsunami in Lloydminster, and your basement starts flooding because your sump pump's not working properly. So those are a couple of things for the outside. Second, then I'd want you to walk around the inside of your house. Test all your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. If they're battery powered, make sure that you change them. This would be the perfect time to just get that done. Those are so important. Doesn't matter how new your furnace is, there's always the potential for a failure, and a carbon monoxide detector is going to protect your family in that situation. So make sure to check those batteries and get that done. And then I always tell people, turn up the thermostat before it gets cold outside. Make sure you've got heat coming out of your registers while it's still early in the season. And then use all of your senses. Smell for burning. Look for that excess smoke or maybe dust coming out of the vents, and listen for weird noises. Maybe don't lick anything, but all the other senses, they'll tell you pretty quick what's going on. And last, I want you to walk around your furnace room. Look for dripping pipes. This is just a good time. So many people just forget that they even have a mechanical room. Get down there, walk around and get familiar with it. Know what it's supposed to look like. Look for dripping pipes. Listen for strange noises like before, grinding, squeaking, banging. These are all noises that means there's a problem. It means that there's going to be an issue, and the longer you leave it, the more expensive it's going to be to fix. So just get it dealt with.
And an issue that a lot of people seem to run into comes from a lack of balanced airflow. So that's when upstairs things are fine or maybe even a little bit too warm, but in the basement things are on a completely different level and it's freezing. Do you maybe have any suggestions for how people can avoid that?
Yeah, so you're right. That is a huge complaint that we get called about often. And to be honest, most homes in Lloydminster are heated with forced air with a furnace that moves the air around the house. And it literally can be one of the most challenging systems to balance for comfort. And a lot of it has to do with the way that the system was designed or installed. And I mean, there's ways of doing it that can bring more comfort. But at the end of the day, you're limited by the way it was installed initially. And when you're talking about, basements and upstairs, the issue comes is that we live upstairs. We're up there making heat. That's where the sun is shining in the windows and it heats the upstairs. And you don't want the furnace running when it's warm and when there's heat being given off. And so that's why the basements don't have that. There's not as many people down there. Your kitchen's not down there. You don't have as much sun. And so one way that you can balance things a bit is to run your fan on continuous fan. It's going to take the warm air from upstairs and it's going to move it downstairs, and it's going to help to kind of circulate that around.
And I know that you and the team from Guardian Plumbing have actually come together to create a little bit of a web series where you provide some tutorials and walkthroughs on some basic systems. Could you maybe just tell people a little bit about them?
For sure, yeah, we've had lots of customers that have asked us for tips and tricks in the past, and we tried to find a way to connect with as many people as possible. So we've created a YouTube channel under Guardian Plumbing and Heating, and we have it's a monthly segment called the Guardian Angle, and I literally it's all about customers and being able to give you guys tips and tricks to be able to do things on your own. We actually have one on fall maintenance, essential fall maintenance. That's in there, and you can access that and take a look at that. And I walk through and show you where some of these things can happen and what you can do to repair some of those things. So and yeah, try to make it so that it's all in language that everybody can understand, and you don't have to have a degree in plumbing and heating to be able to fix things. So.
Residents in Recovery has expanded their family program and has seen a spike in applications. Jace Mackey has more on what the organization is looking to expand.
I'm speaking today with Tyler Lorenz from Residents in Recovery. Now, Residents in Recovery has seen a surge in people applying to take part in some of their family programs, and that's led to them needing some more space to house some people. So today, Tyler is joining me to talk a little bit more about this. So first of all, Tyler, can you tell me a little bit more about what these family programs are?
We have a couple family programs. The fiveplex that we purchased in the summer allows us to house single parents and their children. They're able to stay there, really as long as they need to, as long as the program is serving their needs. And they do a combination of day programming at the recovery center downtown here or at the healing center. Many of those kids go to school, bus picks them up, and it really just supports them in reintegrating back into the community, reintegrating the kids back into the mother's life, and just gives her the support she needs to maintain her recovery while stepping back into that parenting role. And then the Family Healing Center, this is our apprehension diversion program. That was originally started with Onion Lake. We have a couple other bands that are also sending clients to that now. But that is a program where babies are at risk of apprehension. Instead of putting them in care, mother is kept with baby in that home, and they can even have one other toddler with them. And they're supported with a residential treatment experience right in the house there.
Now, with this increase in demand for those programs, the Residents in Recovery is looking for a new house. Can you just tell me a little bit more about why it's needed?
We have such a huge waiting list right now for single women, and majority of them are mothers. I think our waiting list is about 30, with over 20 of them actually being Lloydminster residents. So we really just feel the need that we really need to step in and support them. Many of them are trying to be reunited with their children and are seeking, to get into the family program eventually once they attend treatment. So we really want to help them transition and do this and get their children back. So this is something that is greatly needed to support them. Right now, many of the women that have been on our waiting list for a few months, have relapsed, and we hate to see that. But as well, we have a couple that are in treatment right now, and we just have no spots for them. So we really want to be able to support them when they complete their residential treatment experience, so that they can safely continue their recovery journey.
So for our viewers out there who are thinking maybe they have something that could work, can you go through a little bit more about what kind of house you need and how people can reach out for that?
We're looking for, a 5-bedroom house, 5 or 6 bedroom, or 7, I guess. Realistically, 5 is the magic number for us. A 4 bedroom we could possibly work if the rent was right, but 5 bedrooms kind of seems to be the break even where we can make enough off rents that the house becomes self-sustaining, and we're not putting money in. And that allows us, there is this transition period where, one mother transitions out and then another one comes in. There's usually a few weeks there where there's no rent. So with 5, it kind of gives us that little cushion that we can support the house and all the bills and utilities just through rents alone. Majority of our houses actually contribute money back into the recovery center, which is really what we would like to see. Any of our 6 and 7 bedroom homes do that. So if there is a larger home, we definitely would prefer that.
And is there a particular location here in Lloydminster that you're looking for?
Downtown is optimum. Walking distance to the downtown recovery center. We do have one house that we do have to pick up the clients in the morning. If we can avoid that, great. If not, we're definitely able to transport them. It's just obviously it saves a step if we don't have to. So if anybody has anything downtown that is available, we'd even be eventually I would like to purchase, all of our sober living homes. We're just not quite there yet, but at some point in the very near future, I think, this would be an avenue that we're looking at, perhaps even, early next year. So even if somebody had a house up for sale, and they wanted to, have some revenue on that, we're great tenants. All of our houses right now are long-term rentals, and we have great relationships with all of our landlords.
The Compassion House Foundation is gearing up for an annual fundraiser that's presented by Syncrude next week. This is the second year that the Fashion with Compassion event will be held virtually, though Shelby Clark says the foundation is still seeing great support.
I'm speaking with Michelle O'Keery with the Compassion House Foundation, and this year marks the 25th annual Fashion with Compassion event that will be on the 22nd. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, this year's will be virtual, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And for others unaware, what does this event help people within the community?
Yeah, so like you said, it's the 25th anniversary of the event, so it's a really exciting milestone for us. It'll be held virtually next week. I'll actually be hosting live in studio again this year. And, even despite doing it virtual, last year we had over 1,000 people live stream the event. So pretty incredible to see people support us from across the province. And the reason that they do is because we serve women who have to come into Edmonton for cancer treatment. And so there are from communities all across Alberta. The previous year we had served 391 women, and last year I think we're about 335. And so we see a lot of women come through our doors, and we provide safe, comfortable, and affordable accommodations at Sorrentino's Compassion House, as well as shuttle service to and from their appointments at the Cross Cancer Institute, and really just that safe haven where they can be around other women who are going through the exact same journey that they are. So they really lean on one another for support.
Now, these past couple years have been virtual for this event. What's going to be all different this year compared to previous years?
Yeah, so we wanted to keep a lot of the same elements in. So we're going to see fashion from local retailers here in Edmonton. We're going to see entertainment. We actually have Chantal Krebiazek, who's a well-known Canadian artist that will be performing at the event. We actually have an Indigenous performance as well, which I think is really nice. My background is that I'm Indigenous, and so for me it was really important to be able to bring that cultural aspect in, especially again looking at the fact that we serve Central and Northern Alberta as well as the Yukon Northwest Territories, so really wanting to see that representation there. And then we have 3 stories from past guests at the house who've really bravely come in and shared their stories with our audience. And so I think it's going to be, there's going to be some laughter, some crying, and some really great entertainment.
Well, it sounds like it's already so much going to be involved with this year's. How has the process been for setting up for the 25th annual event?
It's been really exciting. We obviously didn't know 100% what things were going to look like when we started planning all the way back in January, but made the decision to go virtual, and I think that was the right choice for us. But we have an element of, hosting safely watch parties at home. We do have corporate packages, and we have a couple of those still left. And so we partnered with a longtime partner, Sorrentino's Restaurant Group, and they've developed an Italian-style dinner for two. And they're actually going to walk people through how to make that at home in the pre-show. So it's a bit of a dinner and a show, which is really exciting, and a nice nod to somebody or a group that was so influential and impactful in helping to make Sorrentino's Compassion House reality.
And when's the last day for people to grab tickets for this year's event?
So it's actually tomorrow, end of day, is when tickets will end. Certainly, if someone really wants to get their hands on tickets and they want to reach out to us, we can probably do a couple last minute, but we do want people to go through the website, and that will cut off at midnight tomorrow night.
And, since the Compassion House has been selling these tickets for this year's event, how has support been so far? Has it been strong?
It has been. It was a little bit slow getting started, but I think everyone was maybe excited about open for summer and doing some traveling and different things. But once September came around and people got back into business as usual, we saw that support come in. So like I said, of the 250 boxes we had for our corporate packages, we only have 2 of those left, so 16 total boxes, which is really nice. So we've seen incredible support there. And I think we've sold nearly 600 tickets beyond that. So really great support from the community. We'd love to see that last push. Like I said, it is our 25th anniversary, and so we want to go big. And we do have a large fundraising goal associated with this as well. Like I said, we see a lot of women come through our doors and stay with us. It's been even tougher during the pandemic. And so there are additional supports that are needed to keep those women safe. And so our costs have gone up. And so this really helps keep our costs low and our rates affordable for women with us.
And where is it exactly that people can go online to grab tickets and find more information, and even where they can access this on the 22nd?
Yeah, so they can go online and purchase tickets at compassionhouse.org/FWC, so Fashion with Compassion. And in addition to that, we do have a 50-50 that's going on right now. We're launching an incredible silent auction tomorrow. So anyone can bid on those until 8:20 p.m. next Friday. And obviously donations are greatly appreciated. So you can support a stay for $100 a night, $700 for an entire week, or $3,500 for a full treatment cycle.
Perfect. Well, for everybody that hasn't grabbed their tickets yet, you have until tomorrow. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle.
Thank you. It's been great.
Now, for your first look at weather tonight, let's check in with Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much, Tate. Now taking our first look at your weather forecast for here in the border city. We are sitting at 8 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud, but we are seeing a lot more sun today than what we were seeing yesterday. So it is feeling quite a bit warm, a nice, beautiful fall day today. So hopefully everybody's going out and enjoying it. Switching over to our temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan, most are sitting at that 9-degree mark there, with Cold Lake and Bonnyville at 7 and 8 degrees. Marwayne is at 8 degrees as well, while Vegreville is at 10 degrees, as well as in Wainwright, and Provost is at 9 degrees. And switching over to the Saskatchewan side here, 7 degrees in Isle Cross, as well as in Pearson and St. Walburg, 8 degrees in Green Lake, while Meadow Lake is at 6 degrees, 9 degrees in Maidstone and Macklin, and North Battleford is at that 6-degree mark as well. And speaking of North Battleford, overnight they will be going down to a low of -6, so cooling down a couple degrees cooler than what they were seeing this week, but they will be seeing more clear skies, and tomorrow they will be warming it back up to a high of 12 and seeing a lot more sun. And switching over to Cold Lake, overnight they'll be going down to a low of -4 with a lot more clear skies as well, and tomorrow they will be warming up to that double-digit mark with a high of 13 with a mix of some sun and clouds. They are going to be seeing a warmer day than what they were seeing today. And now here in the border city, we will be going down to a low of -3 there, but we will be feeling more of a -7 with a wind chill overnight with a lot more clear skies. And tomorrow we will be starting off with Friday with the weekend with a high of 13 with a mix of some sun and cloud, but we may be seeing a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds, so it might be another beautiful day tomorrow. And now as we go over to our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, as I was saying, the weekend we will be warming it up just in time there. Friday we'll be seeing a high of 13 with a low of -3, and we will be seeing a little bit more sun there. And Saturday in the middle of the weekend, we'll still be seeing those nice temperatures with a high of 14 on Saturday with a mix of some sun and cloud and a low of -1 there. But hopefully everybody is enjoying those nice temperatures for this weekend, because we will be cooling down quite a bit after this. And Sunday we will be ending off that beautiful weekend with a high of 17. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Research from the University of Alberta is hoping to connect ranchers with artificial intelligence to help optimize their operation. For more, we throw to Jillian Code.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by David Wishart, who is a professor in the Faculty of Science with the University of Alberta. Now, David, you're working on an armchair rancher program. What can you tell me about the development of this so far?
Sure. So this is a project that was launched in March, April of this past year. So it's just getting off the ground, if you want. But it's really designed to be an app, or if you want a program that can sit on your smartphone or your laptop or iPad to help basically ranchers, beef ranchers in particular, farmers, to manage their herds, to improve their operations, their efficiencies, to reduce the risks, but basically to help them predict and model what will happen in the future with their ranch, their farm, or their herd. So it's essentially an aid, sort of a smart assistant that sits in your computer to help you with making smart decisions, sort of like the same kinds of tools that stock traders and stockbrokers use when they're trying to decide on what to buy and sell. Same kind of tools that help doctors with diagnoses, that help so many other professions. But I think in the world of farming, it's always been sort of up to you, the farmer, to rely on intuition or experience. But what we wanted to do was bring the power of artificial intelligence, big data, and machine learning into the ranching business, and gives them the same tools and the same advantages that other professions have.
And so this is still in development. How's it going so far?
Well, it's moving along quickly. Our first phase of the project is essentially acquiring data, and data sits in, sort of, you turn over a rock and find data sort of thing. It's a bit like a treasure hunt, but we're collecting a wide variety of data on climate and weather, data on gas and oil prices, data on market prices, and not just in Alberta, but around the world, because each of these things is interconnected, and something that happens in the States could affect beef prices here. Something that happens in China could affect, disease status. And so we have to collect a lot of data. We collect it in a historical sense, going back in some cases 30 years. But from that historical data, we learn trends and connections so that we can take, today's data, put it into this smart program, and it will predict, or hopefully will predict, what will happen tomorrow, and what could happen 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, even 5 months from now. And this is what I think ranchers, and obviously a lot of us, would like to be able to know is what's going to happen, and what would happen if I do this now, or what would happen if I wait 2 weeks and do it later.
So let's say hypothetically that this goes through and farmers are using it. What type of information will they get from this?
So the idea of the app is obviously have a lot of general information, which is what we've been collecting, but also to combine it with farm specific or ranch specific data. So not every ranch is the same. Not every beef rancher has the same herd, the same type of cattle. They may also be living in different parts of Alberta. So, where one part of Alberta is having a drought, another one may be very wet. Those things will affect some of your decisions about what you want to do. And so the intent is for farmers, ranchers to be able to upload their data, just like when you buy things on Amazon, you buy something personally, but Amazon also uses all the collection of all the other millions of consumers to help make better decisions for you. And so that's what we're trying to do is integrate that data that farmers upload for their ranch to help them make better specific decisions for their farm, giving their conditions, their situation, their parameters, if you want.
Absolutely. David, thank you for your time today.
You're really welcome. Thanks so much, Jillian.
Now, if you're in the market for a new cow, here's a look at your agriculture prices. In their inaugural season, the Lakeland women's hockey team got off to a 2-1 start heading into their home opener last Friday. Before the game, the team got some good news, as Evan Kenny reports.
The Lakeland Rustlers women's hockey team received some much-needed energy ahead of their home opener. The Kings Energy Group will be the team's new title sponsor.
We all know that hockey develops leaders, and we know that education refines them, and so we're really excited about what the girls are going to do on the ice. But more than that, I think we're excited about where these girls are going to be 10 or 20 years from now and the impact that they're going to make in the world.
Our three pillars in Rustlers athletics: so success in the community, success in the classroom, and success in competition. And just listen to Darren talk about what their goals and objectives are and what they're looking for. It fits so nicely together.
The new kids on the block showed they're a force to be reckoned with. In the opening frame against the Irma Chargers, the Rustlers put up not 1, not 2, not even 3 goals, but rather 10.
I think our team is playing well. We a good skill level. It's a talented team, but we also, the work ethic seems to be there.
The Rustlers would leave the game with a 15-0 victory and pick up another win later in the weekend.
We do have, I recognize we have a good team. We have, it's a talented team and really good goaltending, and so we're not an easy out, but we'll have bigger tests to come here, I think.
Lana DeRees leads the team and league in points with 18 in 5 games played. The Rustlers will play 2 exhibition games this weekend against Olds College, with Friday night's match taking place in Vermilion. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Now, to show her her moves, let's throw to Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much, Tate. Yeah, trying to show off my moves, but we will be taking a first look here at temperatures across central Alberta and Saskatchewan here. While most are sitting at that 10-degree point, Edson and Whitecourt are both at 11 degrees, while Jasper is a little bit cooler at 7 degrees. And switching over to our Saskatchewan side here, they are looking a little bit cooler. Most are sitting at that 6-degree point there. Cold Lake is still at 7 degrees, while Melfort and Saskatoon are both at 5 degrees. As we switch over to our northern region of the provinces here, they are seeing around the same as what we've been seeing in the central region. Uranium City is at 8 degrees, while Stony Rapids is at 6 degrees, as well as La Ronge. Wollaston Lake is at 5 degrees, and South End and Flin Flon are both at 4, while the rest are sitting at 7 degrees. And switching over to this end here, Peace River, Fort McMurray, and Grand Prairie are both a bit warmer at the double-digit mark at 11 degrees. Slave Lake and High Level are at 9 degrees, while Fort Chipewyan is at 10. And switching over to our southern region here, usually they are seeing a lot warmer temperatures, but as we get through the fall season here, almost into winter, they are cooling down quite a bit. 11 degrees in Lethbridge, while the rest are sitting at 10 degrees, and Banff is the coolest at that single-digit point at 7 degrees. And switching over at this end here, 7 as well in Kindersley there. Yorkton is at 5 degrees, while Swift Current is at 6 degrees, and the rest are at 3 and 4 degrees, but they are looking a lot cooler here over on this end. And now going back to across the region, the temperatures overnight tonight, we are now officially in those minus lows for our overnight temperatures, while Meadow Lake, Paradise Hill, Provost will be seeing a low of -6, as well as in Unity throughout the night. Isla Crosse will still be a little bit warmer with a low of -1 as usual. Pearson will be seeing a low of -4 tonight, while the rest will be seeing a low of -3 and a low of -5. But most will be seeing a couple clouds in sight, while Meadow Lake, Paradise Hill, Unity, and Pearson will be seeing more clear skies throughout the night. And as we switch over to temperatures tomorrow across the region, we will be warming up quite a bit there with a couple degrees, moving back into those double-digit temps, ranging from around 12 to 14 degrees. Isla Crosse will be a little bit cooler, sitting at 11 degrees tomorrow, while over on the Alberta side in Edmonton and Vegreville and Vermilion, they will be seeing on the warmer side with 14 tomorrow. And now ending off with our 7-day forecast for here in the border city. As I was saying earlier, we will be seeing beautiful temperatures for this weekend with a high of 13 tomorrow on Friday with a mix of some sun and cloud to start it off. Saturday throughout, we will be seeing a high of 14 with a little bit more sun peeking behind those clouds. And Sunday we'll be ending it off with a high of 17. So we are seeing some nice temperatures for the weekend. So hopefully everybody is going to go out and enjoy those nice fall, beautiful days. And as we head into next week, on Monday, we will be seeing a high of 9 degrees with a little bit more cloud coverage. So we'll be starting off a little bit cooler. Tuesday will cool down a bit to a high of 7, but with a little bit more sun there. And Wednesday and Thursday will move it back up to a high of 11 and a high of 12. That is another look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Today, I'm joined by Wendy McDonald, the Chief Operating Officer from Inclusion Alberta, to talk about their Changing Lives, Changing Communities fundraising event happening in November. So to start, could you maybe give a brief explanation as to what the event is and what it's fundraising?
Inclusion Alberta's Changing Lives, Changing Communities fundraising event happens every year at about this time. Due to COVID, we are having a virtual event for the entire province. The event is 1 hour in length from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30, and we promise it will leave you motivated and inspired about the possibilities for individuals with developmental disabilities and their families.
So you had mentioned that this is an annual event that you host. Was last year's event virtual as well?
Last year was virtual. It was our first attempt at doing a virtual event, and we were hopeful it was only going to have to be a one-time thing. But we are excited to host our second annual virtual event this year.
So then what was some of the feedback that you received from last year's event?
Last year, we received overwhelmingly positive feedback about our event. It was actually really staggering. We were concerned about doing an event like ours virtually and people's reception, but honestly, we were absolutely blown away by the support and the positive feedback we had.
And so what type of events will be going on throughout the fundraiser?
Sure. The virtual event is an opportunity to hear from individuals and families who have been impacted by the work of Inclusion Alberta. You'll hear stories from families. you'll see a video that highlights 3 different stories related to inclusive education, inclusive employment, and our work in advocacy.
And so, what are some of the services that Inclusion Alberta provides?
So Inclusion Alberta's goal is to help individuals with developmental disabilities and their families live a life that is comparable to yours and mine who don't have a disability. So the opportunity to go to school in a regular education classroom, pursue their education in university or college if that's what they would like, be part of regular generic community clubs and programs, have a job with the goal of maybe moving out, perhaps a home of your own. So our work is really to ensure that individuals with developmental disabilities have the same access to the same possibilities in life that those of us who don't have disabilities have.
And your website had mentioned that the families that your organization supports, as well as your own organization, have been deeply impacted by COVID. Could you maybe speak a little bit more to that?
COVID has had a huge impact on individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. I'm sure it's not like all of us. I don't know that there isn't anybody that's, being profoundly impacted by COVID. What I would say is the isolation and loneliness that those of us who don't have disabilities have experienced due to COVID is really what the life experience is for many people who have developmental disabilities. So I would say in some ways, sadly, COVID hasn't had a huge impact on individuals with developmental disabilities. On the other hand, the ability to get connected to community, to have jobs, to be in school has been even more limiting for this population.
And is this event open to anyone who wants to join, and where would people be able to donate?
Yeah, we would love anybody that would like to join us that morning to please do so. You simply need to send us an email at rsvp@inclusionalberta.org, and we will send you a Zoom link for the event. For those interested in donating, whether it be that morning or anytime, on our website, there's a donate button, and we would, of course, encourage anybody who's interested in supporting us to do so.
And do you have any potential, maybe a fundraising goal on how much you'd like to raise for this year?
Well, our goal is a couple of things for the fundraising event. One is, of course, to raise money. Our hope is to also increase the number of multi-year donors we have. That's a great way for us to sustain the work of the association. But ultimately, it's to raise awareness for those of us in our community to understand the realities for individuals with developmental disabilities, but even more so their hopes and dreams for a life of possibility in the future.
We're joined once again this week by Lauren Rodick-Everly. Lauren is joining us from Seattle this year, made a move across the country and having to deal with all kinds of fun things, dealing with relocating and activities for your kids, which we talked about last week. But this week, Lauren, we're going to switch it up a little bit and talk a little bit about healthy eating. I know this is huge for you. Following your social media, you always have really good ideas and recipes. So what are some good resources for recipes, Lauren, if people are looking for information for their toddlers, just even to change things up from a normal routine and get some good ideas?
Of course, yeah. So I say that kids can eat the same thing we do with maybe just some slight adjustments if they're young and they don't have all their teeth and that kind of thing. But really, with my daughter Collins, I have her eating what we're eating, but I'm not a nutritionist, so I love to try and look at as many resources for healthy eating as I can. So online is really good for that if you can scout out good ones. Two that I want to mention that I really love, a Canadian one is Bloom Nutrition. So or on Instagram, it's at Your Bloom Nutrition. So they should definitely check that one out. And then an American one is Kids Eat in Color. So that's a really fun one as well. So they give some great tips on how to eat healthy, but also how to create a good relationship around food.
How do you know if your child is eating healthy? I mean, you obviously would go in with the best intentions, but is there something that you can do, or are there some sort of markers that you can follow to make sure that your child is in fact eating healthy? Because I know even if you look at ingredients, sometimes you can be tricked on things that you think are healthy, but actually aren't.
Right. I don't know. Probably a lot of people have heard that thing about walking the perimeter of the grocery store. And that doesn't always work for every grocery store now because they're all set up differently. But a lot of the times, if you're trying to buy and make the things that mostly don't have a label on them, those are the things you want to be looking at. So if you're looking in the produce section, the meat section, that kind of thing, if you pick up an avocado, it's not going to have a label on it, right? So that's, I think, how I kind of try and gauge as well. And I also want to, when I am buying something with a label, look that there's not too many ingredients on it and that I can understand every ingredient on it. So those are some of my big takeaways.
And now, obviously, as hard as we try, kids aren't going to be eating healthy all of the time. And it is, a lot of people do want to give them treats. So what do you do for treats? Are there some special things that you do? And how often do you allow Collins to have treats, or does it just really kind of depend on the day?
So my goal was to not really bring too much refined sugar into Colin's diet until after at least 2. But now that she's a year and a half, she's getting to the point where she's asking for certain foods that we're eating or that she's seen. So if we're eating something now that's a little bit of a treat, we do offer her some of it. But we also are trying to, like I said, create a healthy relationship around food. So we're not going to say a food is good or bad. It might just be a sometimes food. And it also is really good with kids. You kind of see the best of yourself, and the worst of yourself is that you try and do things that you want to instill in your kids. So it probably makes us eat a little healthier as well, so that we're showing her how to do that.
A lot of moms are busy these days. They've got all kinds of things to do and they're taking kids to appointments and such. How do you find ways to have healthy snacks that you can take on the go? Because it's really easy to grab that prepackaged bag of chips or, some candy instead of going for healthy. So how do you do this if you've got a whole bunch of things to do in the day and you still want to make sure you've got something healthy for your kids to eat?
Yes, I try and prep food so that it's already ready and easy to grab. And for everyone, that's going to look a little different. I have asked other parents what they do for that. Some people like to pick one day on the weekend where they prep everything. Some people prefer to prep at night, but just kind of scheduling in some time where you can wash and chop some veggies and fruit, or even some other healthy, like even if it's cheese, and having the cheese already sliced up and ready to go, because that actually is a really great food for kids as well. Then you have that ready, it's already in your containers, and then you're more likely to grab that than, like you said, the packaged chips.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And if anybody is looking for information or they want some ideas for some of the things that we discussed with you, what's the best way to find you, Lauren?
They can find me at laurenrodickeverly.com or on Instagram at laurenrodickeverly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you as always.
That's all the time we have for now, though we've got some more news coming up for you in the next hour. For Primetime News, I'm Taylor Crum.